Okay, everybody, so I thought I would go through another what sold video real quick with you. And we're going to go through like the first week and a half so of this month of April. And we have quite a few eBay sales to get through, so we'll just get started. We were coming out of vacation, and so we did open up eBay a couple days before we got home. And so here's some of the sales from that time period. We have $31 for this Cruel Kit by Current. Very cottage core woodland kind of theme. So that one actually sold pretty quickly. I picked that up at Goodwill probably for about $2, unless I had like a 20% coupon or something with it, but in that neighborhood. So that was pretty good. That was the first sale we had after we opened up shop again. Next up is this Coolabar long sleeve top. Coolabar is like a UV protection type clothing. I was trying to think as I was putting this video together, I was trying to remember where I even picked this up. I knew it was not going to be a high dollar sale, so I don't think I spent a lot wherever I picked it up. So it was either half price at one of my little thrifts, or it was the bins even, or something like that. So $20 was the offer I took for that shirt. I think they maybe used to sell a little bit higher. I'm not sure. It did sell quickly though, so that was nice. Nike Air Force One Moving Company. These were a men's size 8. And anyway, they were in really good shape, which is why we picked them up. And then here's a quick little tip. So if you're looking at shoes and you're trying to figure out if they're men's, if they're women's, you know, sometimes once you research the model, like they only came in men's or they only came in women's. But here's a quick little tip on shoes. If you take a look at the sizing, it says US 8, UK 7. So on men's shoes, the size difference between the US and the UK is generally one size. With women's shoes, it's 2 sizes. So if this was a woman's shoe, it would say US 8, it would say UK 6. Okay, that's my quick little tip for the day. Something that has been in my store for quite a long time is this skirt. It's Brendrati. Is the brand. It was made in Italy. Here, I'll go down to the label. This is not necessarily something I recommend because this has been in my store for like, you know, at least a year. It could even have been longer. I'm not sure. This was one of those, in my last video, I talked about going to that part of town where I see brands that I don't normally see. This is that's where I got this. And so it took a while. Just maybe not that well known of a brand, or I don't know, something like that. But anyway, it sold for $22 and I was happy to move that on. Okay, cottagecore country geese. This is what I was telling you. This little motif is having a moment again. So country goose letter mail holder. It's so funny. I think I was cleaning things out of my phone, and I was cleaning out some old footage from a yard sale video, and I saw this in my car. So I picked this up at a yard sale, I think last summer. Could have been the summer before, but I had just had it kind of gathered up in a box in the garage that had kind of like country themed, this kind of thing. I think I said in a previous video that I'd been kind of saving up. I knew this motif was starting to get popular, so I had a few things. And so when I pulled them all out, quite a few of those items have sold already. And so this was one of them. This one sold for $26.99. Here's a nice little random sale. Gotta love this. $24.99 sold for full asking price for this bag of family economy pack combs. Just combs. They're advertised as the incredible unbreakable comb. $25 for that bag. But that did take a while, and I picked those up, I think, at the bins one day. They were not like a fast sale. One of my best sales, I think probably the top sale for this time period, was this wonderful sterling silver wrap ring by David Anderson of Norway. This I did pick up at a yard sale last summer. All the jewelry was in baggies, and this was even darker tarnished than it is in the pictures. And they had it like $2 or something like that. And I think they possibly couldn't read the insides, the marking on the inside because it was so dark. But it also is not everyone's style, right? This modernist look is not everyone's favorite. So they might have undervalued it just because of that as well. $165 was the offer that I accepted on this one. I love modernist jewelry. I think it's really, really cool. And so I was very happy to find it. I don't know why it took me so long to list it. I gave up trying to figure that out a long time ago. Okay, here's another fun little sale. Again, probably something we picked up at the bins. You'll see a couple different tumblers and things like that. And I think this is kind of what's ended up replacing baseball hats in our inventory. So when our bins, our thrift clearance store was in a different location, they set things up differently, and so everything was separated. They did a lot more sorting, and so they had hats all in one place, all in one bin. And so we did really well finding vintage baseball caps, different kinds of hats, bringing them home, selling them. And so that was kind of a business model for a while. It was one of our little bread and butter type items. Now hats are just mixed in everywhere. I hardly even see them at the bins anymore. So I don't look at the rows of clothing super often. So I think they're just mixed in mostly with that. But haven't found a good hat at the bins in a while. But we do see a ton of travel mugs and mugs in general and tumblers and different things like that. And I think that's become Mr. Pish Posh's favorite little thing to take a look at. They're easy, if they're in good condition, it's an easy list. So this was kind of fun. This is the University of Montana, has the Bulldogs on it. It's a travel mug with a lid by Whirly. It was from the dining services. It's just totally random, but it was in good shape. And that sold for $22.49. I think we were back in town, but we were all sick and we were running a sale to try to get some more things moving and kind of kickstart our shop again. Because I think that was just the sale price that it sold at. And I don't know what that tab is all about. I was going to say, I was looking at, okay, same thing. So I don't know, maybe I skipped some stuff. I was looking at, one thing I wanted to say also is how eBay has been glitchy the last couple days. I mean, some parts of the day it's completely done, not working. People, are complaining all over social media and everything. So, it's been kind of hit or miss for us. This morning it was just kind of very laggy. So I'm actually happy things are working so far as I'm showing these to you. This is a pair of Allen Edmonds shoes that Mr. Pish Posh picked up at Goodwill, and maybe like $12.99, something like that. And as you can see, they're in really good shape. It's probably a good season, like with proms and with weddings and things like that. We've got these nice glossy kind of patent leather Oxfords, and so those sold for $110. So another good sale that week. We have this pair of Vionic shoes. Again, excellent condition. Picked those up. I think this was one of our local thrifts that I grabbed these at. But yeah, they were just kind of like a wedge heel type sandal, and those sold for $30.79. Next up is a vintage Barbie. So like I said in the past, I had picked up a little suitcase of doll stuff at a yard sale last summer, and a lot of it had a very strong odor, and so I hadn't gotten around to doing much with it yet. You'll probably remember this about me, that if it takes any kind of special effort, it's gonna sit for a while, unless Mr. Pish Posh does it for me. But anyway, I was kind of into doing some Barbie clothing and different things like that, and so I tackled this whole thing. And what was neat about this is a Francie doll from the 70s, which what was neat was that she had her bathing suit, she came with her towel and her sunglasses. So a lot of times it's those extra little accessories that will help your sale. This sold for $30 on an offer. Then we have a Mr. Pish Posh listing. I think it was our local thrift he picked these up at. They're folding like camping utensils, and they sold for $28.99. We have some flatware, J.A. Henkel's flatware. The pattern is called Rapture. These are salad forks, and they sold for $17.59. Then, okay, this we did pick up at the bins at our clearance store. It was on carts that they had just rolled out, so it was all new stuff, and these were kind of stuck in the back. So knives are more Mr. Pish Posh's area of expertise and what he ends up listing when we get some. And I saw these, and I thought the packages looked like super cheesy. So I showed him, and I said, "Do you want these?" And he's like, "Well, they're new they're new, so and that's the bins, let's just throw them in there." They sold so fast for $35.99. So, I'm sure if they had been used, that would be a different story, and those might have been a harder sell. But they were like a wooden handle. It says full tang, which means that the metal, goes all the way through the handle. They have the rivets, things like that. So, I'm sure they were not bad for knives. Here was a good sale on a baseball hat. This one I just picked up at the regular thrift store, and I'll show you a couple things that I noticed about it because, some sports hats, it's like dime a dozen, right? You can find them, there's nothing special about them, right? So what made me pick up this one or take special notice of it is that it was a new era hat, which was nice. It was 100% wool. So that's something I do look for sometimes in these. It was like this authentic diamond collection. It made it a little bit easier to research. And then it was made in the USA. So the only thing that takes away from sometimes these hats that we've noticed is when they're not adjustable, but it did have the size like clearly stated right there in it. So probably as we got into kind of baseball season, this ended up moving, and it did sell for the full asking price of $39.99. I was trying to research it in the store, and I knew this was the Cincinnati Reds, but I was looking up the Cubs or I don't know, something in the store, and I'm like, why can I not find this hat? Well, that explains it, but once I got the right team, then I was okay. Same local thrift store, I picked this piece up. Of course, the color caught my eye. The brand is Alpaca with a K. Never heard of it. I just did a quick search for that type of like travel wear or bags and things like that. This is a phone pouch, so it did have like a longer strap, you could carry it messenger style, and it sold for $31.49 within a couple days of listing it. This one, I show you the highs and the lows. So this hat, it was super cute. It was vintage little beret. But anyway, it ended up selling for $11.50. And we had that for a long time. It was one of those things when I got the offer, I was like, Mr. Pish Posh, make sure we still have this out in our storage because I don't want to accept the offer and then find out we donated it a long time ago. But we had it, so we shipped it. And a mug. So I had high hopes for this mug. It took a few months to sell. It's just one of those I felt like was good, right? And it was a vintage 92 college basketball mug, and it was the Final Four. I just, I had a gut feeling about this, and so it did sell for $25. So to me, a $25 mug sale is always a win. So it just took finding the right buyer for it. These also took a little bit to sell. Mr. Pish Posh picked these up somewhere along our travels. They're by Teva. There weren't a ton of comps on these. They're neoprene, like scuba or surfing kind of boots, and they sold for $35, I think. Hold on. Yes, full asking price. Another item I've had for quite a while. Isaac Mizrahi is not something I look for or pick up super often. It's Isaac Mizrahi Live, always Isaac, right? I had picked it up kind of based on the aesthetic of it, that it was preppy, that it was Argyle, that it was new. Like it's, you know, it still had its little button in the, like it didn't have its original tags, but it had its button still hanging there, the replacement. And so I thought, you know, somebody's going to want this. And they did. It just took like a year or more. And it sold for $20.79. All right, finishing up with eBay, Color Street. So I found a bunch of these at Goodwill not that long ago. And this actually sold probably within a couple days. I have more to list. I'm just trying to still decide how to divide them up. But I had separated out these French manicure ones. And so this is 2 packs of, they were the same, called Meet Me in Paris. It was the name of the color, whatever. And so those sold for $20. And some little doll shoes. Again, as I was pulling out the doll stuff, I came across this. It turns out according to the feedback I got, the shoes are for one doll. These are for a smaller doll. But when I sourced them, they were all in this little plastic container. And so I just listed them that way. And they sold for $28. These Cole Haan shoes, just kind of a classic style. These were in pretty good condition. I think they did have a few marks on them, kind of common with these light colored shoes, but they sold for $28. And I just disclosed and tried to show pictures of the different marks, and the buyer was fine with that. This is what I was talking about with these travel tumbler type things, the random stuff that we're picking up at the bins, Mr. Pish Posh mostly. Subaru does kind of have a little bit of a following. We've sold a few other items. It's unbranded, but as far as like the maker of the tumbler, but it sold for $15 on Posh. And then Corningware. Okay, again, maybe something that you're not quite thinking about with Poshmark, but again, I've said this before, a lot of my vintage housewares have been selling on Poshmark. So try to keep your mind open to, it doesn't have to just be clothing and shoes and things like that. Oh, look, it's all in the wrong spot. Okay, so I sold these Vivea shoes. I think I featured them in a Thrift With Me video a couple weeks ago. They sold really quickly. I got them listed fairly soon after I found them. And they sold for $45 on Poshmark. So I did have that picture that I wanted to show you. The bottom, so you can see the name of it. It's called Vivea. Anyway, it's definitely a brand I keep my eyes open for, because when I find it and list it, it sells like super fast. Hopping over to Depop, just one little sale on Depop, although I did have some more sales the rest of the month that I'll share with you in the next video. Here was a Free People wallet, and don't forget, when something is faux leather, we'll call it vegan, and that is a good keyword for fake leather. Okay, let's look at patterns in the Etsy shop. So I thank you all for watching that last pattern video and for leaving your comments, and hopefully that was helpful for you. So I'm just going to share some of the solds. It was actually not bad of a week, especially coming out of a vacation. So the pattern sales were actually pretty good that week. So $14 for this pet clothing pattern, and it sold fairly quickly, because I remember I listed this not that long ago, but it sold for $14. And it is pet clothing. Pet accessories are one of the things I do look for when I'm looking for patterns. People like to make stuff for their pets. Then we have this pattern, $16 for this McCall's, for this like patchwork kind of country style tote bag and jacket. We have $17 for this Vogue basic design pattern. It's just dresses, I think 1990, but you know, this is one of the larger format envelopes that I was talking about with Vogue. But they did a few of these where it was just a basic, you know, it wasn't a designer, it wasn't anything like that. They were just giving you a basic pattern to work off of that has some variations within it. Another Vogue pattern, $15 for this jacket, camisole, and skirt. Used keywords like corpcore, business casual. You could see how it would work like for mother-in-law or mother of the bride, mother-in-law, mother of the bride, that kind of thing. Mother of the groom, and just kind of a classic style. Vogue woman is a specific line of Vogue patterns. So this is what I was talking about with trends in that video. So boxy, oversized jackets and blazers are popular. So it could be that somebody was collecting Brooke Shields patterns, but not necessarily. I think this is just trending right now. There was also one that was like a Western style. So that one sold for $17, which I thought was pretty good. Then we have another Vogue, Donna Karan. This was Vogue American Designer, another large format pattern. This was part of a large lot of Vogue patterns I picked up quite a few years ago, but this one sold for $18. So it took a little while to find the right buyer. So that one I think has been listed for a bit. But this one, and I believe the last few, one buyer bought 4 patterns. So that's one of the nice things about having like a niche type shop, is that it's a little more likely that you'll get repeat buyers, or not just repeat buyers, but people who buy more than one thing at a time. So $15 for this Anne Klein designer pattern. Yeah, jacket and skirt. And then again, another one based on trends. So the wide leg pants, culottes, cropped pants, whatever it is that the person is going for. This is trending right now, and so it's from the early 2000s, even though it says right here it's from the 90s. I just forgot to change that when I did the listing. But $18 for a butterick pattern, to me, that's pretty good. So again, trends. Just follow the trends of clothing, and the patterns are most likely selling well as well. So hopping over to the other Etsy shop to finish up, we have this carved wood pedestal type thing that you could put like a vase or an urn, a candle. We generally try to pick these up when we find them, not that we see them like super often, but that sold for $25. This brooch sold for $24. It's a mother of pearl, and it has the name Betty on it, which was super cute. And it also, I like this because it has a little charm hanging on it for Atlantic City. So this was like a little souvenir pin. Super cute. They call these sweetheart pins. And, you know, it'll be, say, mother or mom, or it'll have different people's names or things like that. But this one just had that little added extra thing. So I priced it a little bit higher, and somebody bought it for $24. And this was a pencil box, which I have had this listed for a while. So this has been listed on Mr. Pish Posh's Etsy shop before, and it was listed, you know, it's always gotten a lot of attention. It just needed the right buyer. So it's a plastic pencil box made in Japan, but it also had a ruler and a pencil in it. Anyway, finally found the right buyer for $19. And the last one is some flatware, Oneida Rembrandt salad forks, sold for $12 for 2 of them. It's very similar in look to the Oneida Bancroft, but the Bancroft has like a little line right here, which makes like a little oval at the end. So they both will sell, but the Bancroft one will sell for higher amounts. So anyway, I hope you guys are having a great week. I've got a lot. I'm very ambitious today as to what I want to accomplish, so we're going to see how that goes. And we're almost to the end of April. That's crazy. So I need to do some cleaning today, and I need to, you know, listing is always important. I want to finish up this video, and so we'll see how much of it we get done. So leave me a comment down below what you've got planned for this week. How was your April? How have your sales been? And I've got some more videos coming up for you soon, and I will see you later.